Good morning. All right, let's start with your research questions. Okay, so I've got devised a plan for you, and it's going to be a multi-portion thing because I think there's some dynamics here that need to be talked about before you get into answering these research questions. I think you actually have three. The third one's going to be kind of hidden. We're not going to really say it, but it's going to be added to B. Okay, and it's in B, but it's just a little bit different. Okay, all right. So you know these. Make sure that you've got these in your head. You understand exactly what you're looking for and stuff because you already done your conclusions. This is very well done for the first place. Okay, so I think your first section of your discussion is going to be introducing the assessment. Okay, and the reason why I say that is because we really don't bring in the assessment anywhere in the paper. So it's the idea of you introducing the assessment, giving the name, looking at the documentation you have or whatever you have on the internet, on using their definition of the what this test is supposed to do. Because it goes to the idea that if it's supposed to improve these things, we already know that you improve. So it's kind of like you're just doing checks and balances. The second part of that section will be introducing the actual testing, what the assessment is. You've already got the name. Now, what is the assessment? Now, you could take a lot of this probably from the website, or if there's a website for it, or any documentation you have, or just look it up on the internet. Don't do a lot of mental searching for this. Okay. Get the citation. If you get it from their website, get the website URL. We'll figure that all out later. Don't have time to play those little games. We'll do the little stuff at the end. The second section, you're going to talk about your participants and you're going to talk about the setting that the test is given in. You're not talking about, well, this was done in Poway in San Diego. No, this testing was done at a middle school campus in Southern California, and it was done basically talk about the three tests and what you remember about time of day, what kind of day it was. What was it done in the morning? One was done in the morning. One was done in the afternoon. The third one was done in the morning. Talk about the environment of the classroom. The classroom is well lit. The classroom is quiet during this period of time and stuff. Anything like that. So think of the three actual tests that you gave. Were there any disruptions? So like in state testing, when the fire alarm goes off in the state testing, or in an AP testing, it's a disaster because you've broken the thing. So if there was no distractions during this period of time. Talk about your participants. Talk about the fifth graders themselves, and then and I would probably even start out with that, and then get into the assessment. There were 27 fifth graders who performed, and their reading skills range at the reading and phonics skills range from, let's say, third grade to sixth grade reading level. You're not talking about goals. You're not talking about anything else. So those two sections lead into beginning to get to this right here. Now, when you're doing this one right here, you need to go through here and kind of think about and get some keywords. Pull keywords from here. Something like exposed, practiced, improved, less anxiety. Okay. That's nothing there. Quieter. Okay. Just simple words. Okay, and then so you got like you're gonna think on this level. You're gonna do 1 verse 2, 2 verse 3, 1 verse 2, and then all of them together. Gives you enough to write on. You're looking for compare and contrast, similarities and differences. You have a lot of similarities here, but there are a few differences as I read through this. You want to be able to talk about both. Okay. So let's say you say between test 1 and 2, the class was the environment was noisier that day. This could affect test scores, blah. So now once you kind of grouped them together, such as prior, what's a good word? So exposed. So exposed has many meanings. It was shown to them. They were introduced to the new topics, whatever it is you're teaching. can be brought in there. You can't say you, but you are the researcher, and you may interject. So you're the researcher when doing the intervention, expose the expose the students to blah 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 blah, and this, and then now, and the idea here is now you're going to go into the why. Why did you do that? And then what was the outcome? Okay, so you know the difference between the two. Now you go back to that list of data you have, and you can just kind of peruse it a little bit to see, kind of like in your mind, how many people really improved a lot compared to who does a little. In my program I can't do that, but visually you can see it. I say I got about 8 or 9 people that jumped 10 points from 1 to 2, and then from 2 to 3 they went down. Those same kind of people dropped down about 5, but overall they went up 15. Well, that's pretty good, I would think. I don't know. And then we're going to finish that. So right now, what I'm going to tell you to do is you need to kind of look at question A of your research questions. Go through, put 1 versus 2, 2 versus 3, 1 versus 3. Okay. And then in this one now, you're going to put 1, 2, and 3. So you have all these. So you're going to go through one and write down all the keywords. And this should take you like 2 minutes. Do it on your lunch break. Okay. Less exposure. Participated. You're just going to go through. And you see exposed here. Now you're going to put exposed, because that's going to come up again. You just write it down real quick. Motivated, improvement, okay, familiar. And you're just going to go through cognitive development, attention span, memory, and processing. All 4 of those, okay. Improve. So I think we had improved up there. So then you put a check mark next to improved. That improved came up the second time. Exposed, put another check mark by exposed. Okay. Practice. There we go. And improve. Okay. And then less anxiety. I think in that one, quieter, fewer distractions. It doesn't have to be 1 word. It can be 2. It can be 3, but you really want usually 1 or 2 words. So now I have a list for that one. Then I do the same for the second one, the same for the third. Now you're writing. Now you're looking and going, okay, who had check marks? Is this check mark in all of them? Great. That's called a major theme. And then you got some other ones, and then you got some words that mean the same exact thing. Exposed, taught, practice might even fall into that. Okay. There's less exposure again. So now there's a similarity between 1 and 2. Okay. Or maybe that's okay. So less exposure again. That does count. Okay. Participated. You see that it just keeps going, ba-bum, 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 and you do it as quickly as you can. If it's a word that you think is good, put it in there. It doesn't matter. You can always get rid of it later. Don't have to want to go back. You want to do this once. But you see improvement comes up again. So those words are going to start to pop out, and that's what direction you're going to take it. Once we have that, then we start working on the paragraph, and we're looking at the why. Now you're really looking at why. You're going to make this statement about there was improvement. Now you don't talk about where the improvement is in here. Now you're going to go, think to yourself, where was the improvement? Looking back at everything that you know about it, where was the improvement? And then why was there improvement? That's the critical thinking. Why do you personally believe, without saying you, and you're going to do this kind of statement, the improvement was because of the following factors: X, Y, and Z. A, B, and C. A, B, and C. And leave it at that. You're not going to go into a long diatribe on each one of these. It's going to be short, sweet, to the point. So we get this done, and we can pick out the ones we want to talk about in the presentation. Now is when you're going to, in the presentations, when you're going to give that robust everything. You don't have to put everything in the paper. You're reporting, you're discussing the results. You're not discussing everything that you believe. Because remember, We don't care. We don't matter in this, what the data says. So make that list, pick it, and then make, write in another list with the important words, and then put words together that mean the same thing. Okay. So if I say the word happy, and then down the road, I say joy. Well, joy and happy are pretty much the same words, even though they're not. They are in the same arena as happy. So if I say joy, a lot of times it equates to happy. It's the same thing. Okay, it's not like saying good and bad. Good and bad are totally different. But if I say good, and then I say you did great, great means the same thing as good. It might have a little more oomph to it, or you were super duper. All those things go back to a word that you are comfortable saying. Okay, and that's where I'm going to stop. Watch this video. If you have any questions, text me any questions you have, or give me a call real quick. I'll answer them. But just get that list done, and then we'll figure out how you and I will meet real quick, and we'll look at those, and we'll say, okay, we're going to have you draw a short outline of the paragraphs you're going to write, and then you're just going to town. And then we look and say, okay, we got that. That's good. No, that was a little weak. Let's add a little more. We'll do a little question and answer thing, and bam, we're done. Okay? It doesn't take long. It's just about being intentional in this next week or so of doing something every day and getting it to me. Okay? When you have the words, okay, and you have that list, okay, email it to post it, but email it to me right away so I can look anywhere in the world I can look at that list. Okay, you've got this. Let's set a meeting, and we'll do our very first one, and then you'll get going. Or maybe if it's in the morning like this, I'll just get you another video. But feel free to call me this afternoon if you have any questions.